Am I the a-hole for telling my MIL that she made her choice when she chose to keep seeing my husband's ex? I, 33F, and my husband Tom, 35M, have been in C with most of his family for 3 years. Within those 3 years, I've had twin boys, which has made my MIL try to get back in contact with me. There's a lot of history, but here's a brief summary of why Tom and I are in C, and it all revolves around Tom's ex, who we'll call Talia. So, I am Indian American and Tom is white. He comes from a pretty traditional family and grew up in a small town. Talia was Emil's best friend's daughter, and they were the small-town romance everybody envied. However, upon meeting in college, Tom and I just clicked on a platonic level, and to be honest, I didn't even have feelings for Tom until 4 dates in. I guess you could say he had an emotional affair, but he never did anything physically romantic until he broke up with Talia. Talia, of course, remained in contact with his family since she had been, according to Emil, the daughter she always wanted. Keep in mind, Tom has a sister. But Talia is more of a homemaker, while my SIL, who is an absolute angel, and I had always been more career-focused. Talia had been at every holiday, family gathering, and get-together since the very start of the relationship, and at first I paid it no mind. I was civil to Talia because Emil made it clear Talia mattered to her, despite Talia's blatant distaste and disrespectful attitude towards me. That changed at my weddings. We had two, and my parents footed the bill for both. The dress code was simple, aside from the obvious no white/wedding party colors rule. Nobody was supposed to wear red. I am well aware that red means you slept with the groom, but more importantly, red is a bridal color in my culture. I wore a red lehenga and sari to my Indian wedding, which she wore an eggshell, off-white, dress to, keep in mind, white is worn at funerals to represent purity in my culture. That got my aunties and cousins talking, but I still had a blast since I really didn't care. I did care when she showed up to the American ceremony in a floor-length, apple red gown with a slit going up the leg. It was a bridesmaid's dress, and it violated the dress code. My SIL, along with Tom, went to tell her to change. She did leave after having a hushed argument and came back in a tea-length green gown. I assumed she just wanted to see if she could get away with it. Apparently, my aunties saw this too, which meant Talia was subjected to stares, whispers, and backhanded giggle fits throughout my whole American wedding. It made Talia feel embarrassed, and she cried to Emil, who went to me and told me to keep my kind in line. To this, I crossed my arms and told her that maybe Talia should have stayed in her lane, that she knew not to wear red for multiple, but mostly cultural, reasons, and it wasn't my fault my family is shaming her. It isn't my fault she became cannon fodder for my gossiping gaggle of a family. Yes, I said those words since that is what my aunties are. Those were the consequences of her actions. Tom and SIL backed me up, and Emil left with Talia before dessert. The next day there was a social media post from Talia crying about how she was exiled from her best friend's wedding because the bride was jealous. I made a post back, telling her that she wore red, knowing how inappropriate it was, how her best friend is her ex, and to not sugarcoat what she did. I then tagged my MIL in a separate post with screenshots of Talia's post and told her this was the last straw and that I have been disrespected by Talia from the very beginning of my relationship and that now that I was her DIL, she needed to keep Talia away from family events and holidays since she doesn't respect my husband and I. I didn't care if they still went on weekly shopping sprees or spa days, just keep her away from Christmas and BBQs. Talia removed her post after being publicly called out. Emil was good on this compromise until 3 years ago, after Talia came to Thanksgiving with a pie and a plastered smile, a Thanksgiving that I was hosting. She said something along the lines of, Emil invited me, and I wanted to make sure Emil can actually eat something, since I know you tend to cook ethnic food. I slammed the door in her face, went over to Emil, and told her she could leave with Talia, who I just slammed the door on. Tom looked at his mom, who had this deer-in-the-headlights look. She tried to sputter excuses, and my FIL tried to defend my MIL, but Tom stood firm. He said they had lost access to him, and any extension of him, since they chose Talia. My in-laws, aside from SIL, left, and we haven't spoken since. Fast forward to last week, I got a text from an unknown number, and it was MIL. She said she saw a picture of my boys from a mutual friend's post, and wanted to reconcile. She said she'd keep Talia away this time, and that ever since she got cut off, she's been in minimal contact with Talia anyway. Her Facebook begs to differ. I told her as much, saying I knew BS when I smelled it, and she made her choice. I told Tom about it and asked if he missed his family. He shrugged, saying he doesn't care, and it's been relieving not having his mom around. He's the youngest son of 3, so he was always the baby boy. But I have since received text from my BILs, their wives, and my FIL begging for a second chance. She always wanted to be a grandma, and I do feel like I'm robbing her of a chance. Her other sons haven't had children yet, and SIL cut her off when we did. But you can't undo nearly a decade of disrespect with wishes and wants. And Talia is still in the picture, so I'm skeptical about how long that promise will last. I feel like I'm being calloused, but there are so many stories I can tell about Talia's disregard for Tom's boundaries, and mine. And I don't want to welcome a storm into my house by opening up the gates. Am I the a-hole for telling my MIL she made her choice after she kept my husband's ex around? Edit. Since there seems to be some confusion, I want to clarify Tom did not cheat on Talia with me. Tom broke up with Talia after a few platonic hangouts with me. That is why I said you could call it an emotional affair, because you could argue it was one, loosely. Tom only asked me out after he broke up with Talia, and I accepted after he confirmed via texts he had broken up with her while visiting home for the weekend. There was no overlap between Talia's relationship and mine with Tom. So for everyone who thinks I was other woman and the reason my MIL hates me if because Tom cheated on Talia, no he didn't.